Hey, what's going on, everybody? Xbox All in channel host Sega Forever. I know this video is long overdue. Wanted to do this a couple weeks ago, but it's kind of good that I didn't do it right away um, because something came up this past week that I think is interesting. That kind of adds a little bit of perspective to the video that I'm doing. So you guys know that I'm a Xbox Pro Xbox channel, but I also do pop culture stuff. Have been really falling behind on the pop culture stuff. I'll be honest with you, because there's really not a lot of stuff out there that I like. There is definitely things out there to watch. There's definitely good things out there to support. Um, but at the end of the day, man, the level of which I participated in pop culture is a far cry, from what I used to be or what I used to do. To the point where that's why I don't really do a lot of content on my channel. Right. And you guys, if you guys follow me, you know this already. Right. I've been going through this process for years. And at the end of the day, man, just a lot of things have changed with pop culture. Just being honest. But I just want to shout out Segaman because this video is inspired by him. Segaman did a video about 1 or 2 weeks ago, which was really good. Um, and it kind of inspired me to do this video because his question was why there's so much politics in things, right? And for him personally, he doesn't like the politics and he doesn't care about the politics. And I get it, bro. Shout out to you, bro. I get it, 100%. And that's why I kind of talk. I'm going to do this video, kind of talking about it, and get my perspective from this channel because a lot of people ask me the same thing: why I do this, right? And a lot of people like they don't watch my videos anymore because of it, right? And to be honest with you, man, I was 100% like Segaman for the longest time, right? Because I'm the type of person I like to keep stuff in my boxes, right? Like for me personally, like when I watch something that's science fiction, or if I watch anything that's anime, read a comic book and stuff like that, I don't have a problem with people touching on certain topics, right? Um, but one of the ones I've always had a problem with is definitely religion, right? Because I'm a Christian. On top of that, I'm a Baptist, so I have my fundamental as far as foundational beliefs, right? So anytime pop tries to cross over and talk about religion, I always have a problem with it. Not because it goes against my faith, which over the years has gotten worse and worse, right? There's a lot of blasphemy in a lot of the productions you see now, right? Because a lot of people have no fear of God anymore. Um, but the main problem I'd always have the main reason I always have a problem is because it's just human. It's the human when they try and humanize God, right? So in other words, when I think of God and what God is and the concept of God, who God is, right? It's in the traditional biblical sense, right? He's the omniscient creator of the universe, right? Um, I believe in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, the Trinity. Born again, right? Some people call us evangelicals and stuff like that. That's fine. I don't get caught up in labels and stuff like that. All I know is if I'm aligned with the Word of God, whatever the Word wants to say about where I'm at, or label me whatever way, as long as I'm aligned with the Word of God and the principles of the Bible and what God's will is for my life, then I'm perfectly fine. Everything else falls off my back. So coming back to pop culture, when I look at pop culture and you try to talk about spirituality or God specifically, the God of the Bible, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? They always have to lower him down, right? So for me personally, I don't really care for that type of content, right? Now people make that type of content, whatever. I just avoid it. I've always kind of been that way, right? And to the point, getting to the point of the Sega Man stuff, it was kind of like that, right? It was there was just kind of this line, this absolute, this understood, right? That the streams didn't cross on that level. People would make off comments, people would do content and stuff like that, but it never got to the point that it is now, right? Where everything is 24/7 political. It's just a constant drumming of politics all the time, every minute, every second, all the time. And for somebody like me who has my own political beliefs and who sits on a certain political end of the spectrum, right? This is when I started getting more politically active, at least on my channel, right? I've always been politically active ever since I was younger because I love history. I especially love U.S. history, and I learned a lot about politics when I was younger. At least how politics is supposed to be. The way that our system is now is very broken, right? A lot of the stuff that we do, um, and people that are in the know will acknowledge that. But it's sad to see that a lot of people that should know better don't, right? And that's why everything has changed, right? This is why everything is so political. This is why I do these type of videos, not because I want to. If I lived in a perfect world, dude, we just keep gaming, right? Um, we keep entertainment, right? But that's not how it is, dude. That's not the reality of it, right? So I'm sitting here trying to enjoy what I grew up my whole life doing, just watching movies, listening to music, playing video games, right? Reading comic books, enjoying animation, right? Big fan of Disney, big fan of Marvel, right? And what we would do back in the day, man, because the real world is the real world. Like I said earlier, I like to put stuff in boxes, and that's what I would do. I just put stuff in boxes. Hold on, guys. Let me make sure this is. I'm sorry. I know I always do this. I think I'm live, man. I hope I'm going live because I can't see it. One second. Let me just double check. Oh, yeah, we're there. Okay. Let me close this, man, before I mess up. You know how it is on this channel, guys. But that's the way I would like everything to be. Just everybody enjoy the things that they enjoy, again, because it's ultimately, for me, what pop culture is, and I think most people in my generation, and even the generation before me, man, we have real life issues. I grew up in a generation, man, that it was brutal. It was tough. Right? We had to do a lot of the things that we had to do, and one of the things that would take you away from that, everyday normalcy, was to enjoy something that's whatever type of entertainment that was out there, right? Whether you wanted to go to the movies, right? Wherever you wanted to read a book, whatever it is that you wanted to do that would take you away from your actual life and work and dealing with a lot of the issues you dealt with in the real world. That escapism was provided through pop culture and entertainment. So that was the way that I enjoyed it, right? So I get what Segaman is saying. I wish we could go back to those times, but I don't know. I don't know if we can. Right? I mean, I would like to, but I think the cat's out of the bag. Like Pandora's box has been opened because a lot of people, man, and I'll speak to this too because I grew up in this generation, the Rock the Vote generation, the MTV generation. Because what happened was when you were a certain age and you were growing up, dude, you just did stuff. Either you did stuff that was good or you did stuff that was bad, right? So, for example, right, you had your parents, right? For me, as my grandmother, and there's certain things she expected of me, certain things that I was supposed to do, and things I was definitely not supposed to do. Now, when you're growing up as a kid, like most of us, there's things that, for the most part, that you listen to your parents, but then you would do stuff. You make bad choices, make mistakes, and stuff like that. But that's the lifestyle you live in until you grew into an adult, and then once you started going into the real world, realizing how the real world works, realizing how what your parents were all about, what they were trying to do, trying to protect you, trying to teach you, give you skills, all that kind of stuff. Right? That generation, that shift, and then you become more like your parents, right? But when you're younger, you tend to be a little bit more liberal, right? And as you get older, especially when you have family and kids, it's like people tend to be more conservative. Now, I'm not talking about the extremes like we have now. That's how bad it's been. But that's usually the rite of passage for most people, at least when I was growing up. Hey, what's up, Ray? Hold on, let me see. Gamers shouldn't talk about moral superiority because hate those who love the violence and magical stuff, and most games are about that. He doesn't want us to feel joy from those entertainment. Oh, gamers shouldn't talk about moral superiority because hate those who love the violence and magic stuff. And most games are about that. He doesn't want us to feel joy from those entertainment. I mean, anything that takes you away from, if you're talking about God, God should be your priority, especially if you're a Christian. Now, I can't speak on people that are non-Christian. I mean, I can, but if that's what you're talking about, moral superiority, it's as a Christian, you got to look at yourself first, always, right? And make sure if you're aligned with God and what His will is for your life, and of course um, the biblical aspects of Christianity, quote unquote, right? Those fundamental beliefs and practices that you should be doing, right? So, like for me, one of the things I look at when like in what you're saying, Reichi, is like the things that I look at is like the effect that things can have on you, right? So, if you're a person who's a Christian and you struggle with swearing, right, and you listen to a lot of content, like you play games or you listen to music or you watch movies that has a lot of swearing, right? And you're not supposed to do that. We all, a lot of people struggle with it. Some more than others. Some people don't struggle with it at all, right? It just depends on the person, right? So again, it's that. Like if you're playing a game, right? For me, a lot of games is just entertainment. It's not really that deep. That's why I was talking about earlier. It's hard for me to enjoy something that's a video game that's supposed to be biblical, right? Or that's inspired by um, the Bible or God, right? Like I'm watching One Piece with my daughter, and there came this one part where the creator of One Piece, and look, I know a lot of this stuff gets lost in translation. A lot of Japanese are atheistic, like in the proper sense, right? So they don't have, they have Buddhism, they have other stuff, but there are Japanese Christians. Don't get me wrong, but it's not a big thing. Not like in South Korea. South Korea, Christianity is huge, but it's just different. So when the translation, it doesn't bother me. Like I know my daughter probably wonders if I think it's blasphemy or something. It doesn't bother me because something got definitely lost in the translation. So you have Japanese talking about God, but it's their opinion of God, and it's trying to be translated into English. Right. So for me, it's not like it's blasphemous because the reason why it's not in a lot of senses is because the people's idea of what God is just the same thing like with a lot of people who like the Greeks when they had Zeus. When you talk about mythology, I don't want to say mythology because mythology has been watered down a lot, but I'm saying what their idea. Like if you look at a lot of ancient religions, they're just humanist. Like if you look at Zeus, Zeus is very flawed character, right? The God of the Bible is not. So that's easy for me not to equate, right? It's just people's poor uh, trying to equate God to their stories or their characters or their universes or their world. Marvel does that too, like the one above all, right? A lot of people just assume that. The trick is when you're a creative and you do this kind of stuff, is live a little bit of the nuance and ambiguity, so you can allow your reader or the person participating in your universe to form their own opinions. And that's where some of this debate comes from. Right? Jesus hates violence and magic. Yes, most games are about that. Not well. He doesn't hate that, dude. It's a worldly thing, right? It's of the world. There's no like when you look at stuff that's in the world, like what value do you get out of it? And again, I'm speaking as a Christian, so I'm not sure if you're a Christian. I don't want to assume, but if you are a Christian, what value do you get out of it? Of course, there's demonism and stuff like that, and that's the scary thing about that because people that create this stuff, they dabble with it, right? And that's what you got to be wary of. That's why, as a Christian, dude, we have the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit will convict you, right? If you stay in tune, right? Make sure that you pray, right? Read the Bible, live your life the way you're supposed to, Christian. And look, I'm not saying everybody does, dude. It's like everybody falls short, but also not to use it as an excuse. I mean, there's a lot of games out there. I just don't play just because I'm not into the content, right? Like when Xbox, Microsoft ended up buying ZeniMax, right? And they got all those developers, and one of the developers did Tokyo. What is it? Tokyo Ghost, and a lot of people like the game. I tried to play it. I try to play every game. I try to play it, man, but that's just too. I couldn't hang. I couldn't hang with it. You can tell a lot of the stuff is based on stories. For me, it's not about ghosts, bro. It's about demonic oppression. Because I do believe the Bible. There's a point in man wants to die, and then the judgment. Like once you die, it's done. You're done. But there's a spiritual realm out there that a lot of people are talking about right now. I mean to do videos on this stuff, bro, but I don't. I haven't because it's a hard topic to wrap your head around. Plus, I'm going down the rabbit hole, enjoying the content that I find. Right. So finding the time to have the content or actually just watching the content, it's just like doing the videos now. Do I do a video or do I do a video about Xbox and video games, or do I just play my games? Right. Because again, like I say all the time on my channel, dude, if there's one thing that Xbox is getting right, dude, it's the games. Right? It's Game Pass. It's the video games. Right. Like you hear me complain about it all the time. What they need to do is change the narrative. They need to start doing that. I've seen that guy. Damn, what's his name? He's a part of the Xbox team. But he was on Twitter and he kind of called out Kotaku. I think it was Kotaku. One of the media stuff. Like I do media blast, so that's what I talk about. Right. So he called him out. Finally, somebody did. Aaron Greenberg did that a couple times. Like Xbox is gonna have to start doing that because at the end of the day, man, they need to stand up for themselves. Right. It's not about just the console war, dude. It's just like the product that you're making. This affects your career. This affects your pay. right? That there's all these false narratives out there, man. And hopefully Asha gets behind them. Right now, Xbox is changing for the better. Yeah, I think they're on the right track. I like what Asha's doing. I like what she did at GDC. Right? I think she understands, right? Because she's younger. She's probably, she's online. Not like old guys like me, who kind of sit back and quarterback Monday morning quarterbacking. But she definitely is in the mix, man. She knows what's going on. But I just don't know what Microsoft overall what they're going to do. Everything's pointing to them changing. I hope they do for the better. Like you said, Ray. I hope they do. I think it would be in their best interest to do that, right? To start looking at things more business oriented, like they should be. I'm just saying that's why I use Windows all the time. Because Microsoft, a lot of the stuff they do at Xbox, they would not do with Windows. They wouldn't let anybody push them around, right? They're thinking about taking Google to court because something that Google's teaming up with Chat. What is Chat? Not, that one AI that they're looking at. I don't know, man. These big tech companies, man, and that's the way I like it, dude. I'll be honest with you guys. That's the way I like it. Not saying that it's good or bad. I'm just saying that's how I know them. That's the era I grew up in. Big businesses, big companies, dude. They were about the profit, right? And then you could just take them as it was, right? When these guys started to do the woke stuff, dude, that was stupid, man. And they're course correcting. We'll talk about that in the video. The problem with Xbox since Tango closure, they are trying to downsize, but Satya also wants to grow. I'm sure also explains you need to spend money to grow. Um, yeah, I agree, but I just think because Asha has a different. I mean, they're pouring all this money into the developers, and I'm not necessarily have a I'm not saying what Phil and Sarah were doing was bad. I kind of agree with their approach, but at the end of the day, you got to produce. That's just the reality of it, right? And you can see with Asha, like with a lot of the stuff that she's doing, is to let the consumer base know, right? Let the fans and the consumer base know, hey, this is what we're doing. Because like we have games that have not come out yet, and then games we're expecting that got canceled. And I think what it is because of the mindset of Phil Spencer. And look, dude, I'm not saying that's bad, but again, at the end of the day, dude, they need to start putting stuff out, and they need to again. I'll say this till I'm blue in the face, man. They need to deal with this narrative that Xbox is dead. Xbox has no games. Xbox console is going to get sold off. All this stuff that gets put out there, they need to start pushing back on that. I don't mean they have to be nasty, but if you're going to spend money, like I'll tell Satya this: if you're going to spend money, and if you're going to be seriously a competitor in the gaming consoles market, then you need to start making some heavy-handed moves because your competition doesn't care about you, and they're just waiting for you to die. And the way we've been going for the last 13 years, that's how it's kind of been, right? Try to take the high road, bro. When you're with sharks, dude, you can't do that. Especially when you are Microsoft, who owns Xbox. Like that blows my mind. It's like you have a cadre of weaponry, missiles, biggest military, all this stuff going on, and you let somebody else push you around. That's not how it works. You should Microsoft and Xbox should be dictating the terms. Then we can have a discussion about if they're doing bad or not. But we're not even there yet, right? Like a lot of people just hate on Xbox. They do it all, right? They look at Xbox. Xbox is dying at the same time. Xbox is evil, right? If there's one thing I'll tell Satya is like, dude, they don't like you guys. I know that's not fair to say, and that's not what people want to hear. But there's a lot of people that just hate Xbox and hate Microsoft. So again, like I said in my last video, dude, if they're gonna hate you, just make sure they respect you. Right? And Microsoft is trying to do all this stuff, dude, and they're never gonna be able to complete it. They can do it because they have the money to do it, dude, but they're never gonna be able to put their plans into action because of all this hate that they get. They have to really deal with that. It's almost like a cancer, bro. They need to carve this stuff out, dude. And the longer they don't deal with it, the worse it's gonna get. They can have the most look. They could have this hybrid come out, dude. They could have like the best games. They get all this stuff, dude. If they do not deal with this stuff, because you see what happened, dude. Because Microsoft, we saw this for 13 years, dude. Microsoft did everything that everybody wanted, and by everybody, I mean the gaming community, quote unquote. And I would like to think was Asha's there that Phil realized, that Satya realized. That's why they have to make the change, and then Asha realizes that there's just people that you just can't make happy, and that you're the brunt of the joke, You're the butt end of the joke. That's what you are. They're not laughing with you, they're laughing at you. That's what Xbox and Microsoft is. And they need to deal with that, dude. I know I keep on harping this. I'm not gonna get off on it until it changes. Look, anything that goes on in the gaming industry involves Microsoft, right? Every Microsoft talks about stuff, and boom, like some vice president left or resigned or something like that. In the wake of what happened with Sarah Bond and Phil, I kind of understand that's news, right? But again, this is happening all over, right? There's hundreds of thousands of people getting laid off. There's command shifts going on in a moment's notice. Did you see that with the presidency? Right? You see all of this stuff happening in real time. But when it comes to the media, especially the gaming media, it's just all about Xbox and Microsoft. And they need to squash that crap, dude. They need to squash it, man. If they don't, man, we're gonna be stuck in this funk for forever. And that's why I don't do these videos anymore, man. I just play my games, dude. I've been playing Star Sign Island, great game. Glad Microsoft was able to bring it to Xbox Game Pass. Actually supported the game, man. Bought some stuff, right? Oh wait, I'm thinking of Tower. Sorry. I'm going to buy so you can get it on Game Pass. What the developer did was they gave you the Chinese New Year stuff, which is cool. I just need them to work out a little bit of more of the kinks, right? And I know they are, man. Once they do a couple more changes to it, then I'll drop the money on it because I like it. I play that game all the time. I play it every day. That's how I'm getting my Microsoft points right now because it's a Game Pass game. It's like playing COD. It's a Game Pass game. Play it every day. You can get your points. But I mean, yeah, good. I don't disagree, right? With you, Ray. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff in motion right now. Okay, but for me personally, this is why to answer Segaman's question. This is why there's politics because there's politics in everything. And again, I don't like to have politics, dude. If it's the politics in gaming, I would prefer it to be the politics of gaming, not political coming into gaming, right? But a lot of these people, again, like I was saying earlier, dude, it started with kind of my generation, or the generation a little bit after me, the older Gen Xers, right? They it became rock the vote, right? And this became this thing like we got to get out to vote. And what that was a concentrated effort by people who are on the left or the liberals, right, to have a voice in government because they wanted to. When I was growing up, dude, they wanted to bring the government down. They were anti-government. They wanted to destroy the system because, according to them, the system was broken and it needed to be. There needed to be revolution, right? That's a big thing out of the '70s was the revolution, right? There needed to be revolution. We need to bring down the government, right? Racism, all that crap, right? All of that stuff across the board, right? But what they realized, dude, is the American people as a whole like our government because we like freedom, we like individualism. The stuff that I mean, they won't, and I think they're beginning to admit it now. Like people are beginning to see it. That's why they're losing more and more people, right? Because people on the left has gone leftist, and they've gone from leftist to be socialist and communist. Because that's the ultimate goal. That's what they wanted to do back in the day when I was growing up. They wanted to do that, but Americans, when I was growing up, they loved freedom, right? They respected at least the offices, public office. Now a lot of public office officials now are pieces of trash, but because they grew up in that generation, that's what it is. There was just certain understoods and norms and standards, and it's not. And I'm not talking about Christian standards. I'm just talking about standards in general, like the golden rule kind of stuff that people understood. The adults before me understood, right? So that's why when people talk, why can't we work together? Well, there was a different standard back then, right? People would actually work together back then because they saw common cause, common good, stuff like that, right? And then right around the '90s, that started to shift because the left realized that they couldn't have an impact, right, on people. They couldn't bring the people around to their way of thinking, and they were always losing ultimately, right? And so what they did is they infiltrated all these institutions, and one of them was entertainment. Because, like I said, dude, when you're younger, you tend to be more liberal, right? Because who doesn't want to help the homeless, right? Who doesn't want to have some type of utopia? Like, why does nobody all have healthcare, right? Why aren't we able to feed everyone, right? And when you're young, dude, those are things you think about, right? Because when you're younger, dude, you don't like to see that, dude. Nobody wants to see the stray puppy, the stray dog, right? Nobody, it's something. It's that empathy that you have, right? Especially Americans. Americans have a lot of empathy, a lot of charity, right? What tends to happen though is when you get older, reality sets in, right? Like where I live, dude, there's a lot of homeless, and if you're younger, you'd be like, oh, why can't we just put them in housing? Some of them don't want to live in housing. You know why? Because housing has rules. Because if you're homeless and then you're gonna have to be with other homeless and you live in his houses, they have to set these standards and they don't want to follow that standard. I know from experience that I've seen it in my own family. Okay. Either you don't do drugs and then you can live here, but if you're gonna do drugs, you can't be here. Stuff like that. Right? The reality of that. Not everybody, right? But that's the reality. So then you have to learn. We gotta help the ones that we can, right? And then deal realistically with the ones you can't, because there's some people you can't help. But in my generation, that when it happening, these people started becoming politically charged, and look, dude, I know everybody has the right to vote, but a lot of people fall short of that standard. Dude. It's a privilege, it's an honor. You should take it seriously. A lot of people don't. A lot of people do it on emotion. A lot of people how they feel. Like with our current president right now, a lot of people just hate the man, right? And because of that hate, it blinds them to some of the choices that they make just because they like. There's people will spite themselves, man, just because they hate this man so much. And the sad thing about it is when you listen to people, man, they've been told to hate him. Like you can have a visceral hate for him because you don't like what he did. Like the president made a off color remark, which I thought was funny personally. Just being honest with you, we talked about Pearl Harbor. There's a Japanese reporter there, and he said to the president, why didn't you let Japan know you were going to attack Iran? Now the president gets that question all the time from all people, right? And he basically he's told everybody, I'm not going to tell them military plans, right? What we're doing. Everybody knew something was going to happen, unless you live under a rock, or if you just hate the dude and don't want to give him any credit, right? He's been talking to Iran for years. We've already bombed their nuclear facility once, right? He's trying to tell them, hey, you guys need to get on board, man. Look, we got this accord going on. We want peace in the Middle East. We want all this stuff going on. And if you can just come on, then Iran kind of does sometimes, kind of doesn't. Then they do something nuts. They kill their own people. Look, the regime there is horrible, right? They playing footsie with us, right? And to the point where he was like, okay, enough. So if you didn't see this coming, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe don't do politics. At least geopolitical stuff. Now, I'm not saying you have to agree with it, but what I'm saying is, if you did not see that coming, man, like if that reporter, that was a stupid question to me. Like, why didn't you tell us, dude? And that's why he made the joke. Did you tell us about Pearl Harbor? Right? I think there's people up. Look, dude. Every time. Sorry, let me be proper. Every time the president says something, right, people get their panties in a bunch. Dude, if you can't hang, dude, just bounce, man. Let the rest of us deal with this stuff. Right? That's why you see a lot of stuff like the news was saying, there's all this stuff going on the right. There's not. Because there's a lot of people on the right that are not on the right. Right? But they couldn't hang with the left because the people on the left are nuts and psychotic. So they come over to the right because the right is normal. Right? But they don't get along, right? Because they have their different opinions. Like there's people that voted for the president that don't think we should be doing anything in the world. Right? They think, we should just take care of ourselves. No, dude, you can't just take care of yourselves. How stupid is that, dude? It's just like you drive down the road. You get in your car, drive down the road, and you're just gonna drive however you want to. No, there's considerations you gotta take in. The light's red, another car's coming. You gotta drive defensively because other people are living in their own bubble. Right? It's rainy weather. Right? It's the same with everything else, dude. You just don't get to do whatever you want to do. Right? That's the reality of it. And I don't understand why people get that. I don't understand why people understand that or don't get it. But I do know that a lot of this started with my generation when they were just rocking the vote. When they're pushing out people to vote because they just wanted the numbers. Because that's how you get the agenda and that's how you get the movements that you get. But what happens is, what a lot of people don't tell you, and you're experiencing right now, is consequences. Right? No, everybody can't be on healthcare. Because people make bad choices. Right? And people make choices that they want to make. Right? That's why a lot of young people don't have health insurance. Then you'll be telling these people they need health insurance, right? Then they're going to the ER for something like, they got a cut on their hand. Meanwhile, you got somebody having a heart attack in the ER, right? That's in his 40s, right? This was like this. This is what I'm talking about. This was this understood stuff, right? And it's basically wrecked the entirety of how the system worked. And we're dealing with that right now. That's what we're dealing with. Right? So when I'm trying to play my video game, or more importantly, I'm trying to watch a show, right? And I have somebody come on while I'm trying to watch my show out of nowhere and just dump this political garbage on me from their political background, and I know it's BS, right? And I'm listening to them. I'm like, dude, not only are you wrong, but you just ruined the whole show, and that's what people are complaining about. And then when you complain about it, you called all kind of names. You hate people. You're racist. You're Nazi. You're all this crap, right? And so what do people like me do? I just carry on. Boom, I'll go on. Right, like with Xbox. All right, you're gonna put your games. You're gonna put Halo on PlayStation, right? Then let the PlayStation guys buy it. No, but we're gonna revamp it. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do A, B, C, D. So, dude, I already have Halo, right? You're gonna put Starfield on there with all the bells and whistles. Okay, you do that. Let them buy it because I already did that with Starfield. I'm already there. And what Xbox doesn't understand is that those people are fair weather. They'll be there when it's popular. They'll be there, if it's the thing to do. Right? They might be a little bit curious. You might convert some people. Hardly doubt it. Doubt there won't be enough. And then what you're doing is you're just pissing off, or you're losing. And I'm talking in general. You're pissing off, losing, or you're giving this malaise to your actual fan base that's stuck with you all these years. All right, that's the reality of it. That's why you don't do those kind of things. Right? Again, shout out to Hebot. Hebot talked about this in detail. Again, this is more of a political rant, and it's not going to be long, guys. I've already look. I mean, if there was more people having a conversation with me in the chat, I'll definitely go along. But that's why there's politics in gaming, man, because it's everywhere, and it shouldn't be that way. The way entertainment and pop culture should be is an escape. We need to get back to that, and you see that happening right now. Right? There's all these articles dropping. Mainstream media has to pick it up, right? Because they see the changes. They can't lie about it. They can't hide it. Dude, there's hundreds of people being fired, thousands of people being fired from these companies because the stuff that they produce is not paying the bills. And this is what's happening when the economy is the way that it is, which is built by the left. I'm just going to be honest. I know you guys don't like to hear that. Right? 4 years of Biden. I know you guys trying to pin this on Trump. I think he's been a little bit more of a year than a year. He's done a lot. It feels like 5 years. I get it. Right? This dude has done more than any president in my lifetime that I've ever seen. This dude is like shooting tariffs here, blowing up a country here, getting a dictator there, doing the energy grid up in here. They got all these businessmen now trying to coming out talking about him from a business perspective, right? Fighting court cases, securing borders, scrapping with Canada. Dude, man, this dude is like the energizing bunny. Excuse me. This president is like the energizer bunny on steroids, dude. I mean, I just taking it all in is a bit much, to be honest with you. That's why I don't get to do videos all the time because I got other stuff to do. But I did want to do this, man, to just acknowledge, man. Hey, Segaman, I get it, bro. I don't like doing this stuff either, but that's just the nature of the beast now. At this point, I'm not gonna sit here, dude, and let the things that I care about get destroyed because people have something, they feel some kind of way, or they're emotionally detached. Like everything is on feelings. No, dude, just provide good entertainment, dude. And whatever your belief system is, dude, unless you can convert that into good entertainment, keep it to yourself. And again, I use the '70s as a great example. Ton of shows that was out there. Guys like Norman Lear, guys who made content that spoke what their values were. But at the end of the day, they were entertaining shows that still stand the test of time. In fact, the shows are getting canceled now by the same people that produced it, or the same side that produced those shows, the liberals. Okay? That's how far afield they've gone. Right? And they've lost the narrative because they're always accusing the right of being right Nazis, like we've gone far right. It's not that people have gone far right; it's that you've gone absolutely far left off the cliff. You're falling off the cliff right now, and the people see that on your side, and they're coming back over. If you notice in politics, a lot of the fighting right now, a lot of the infighting are not between conservatives. I mean, true conservatives like myself. I'm a true conservative, right? A lot of the people scrapping are like new conservatives, people that just came over, people that are still left leaning, right? They're coming over because they couldn't hang with the left because they think maybe like they might have a left leaning person who is a liberal or a leftist that thinks it's wrong for boys to call themselves girls and use the girls' bathroom, right? Because a lot of feminists are on that side, right? Like J.K. Rowling is a perfect example, right? And they're like, no, that's wrong, and they get ostracized by their own group. But then they come over here because at least over here we're not trying to cancel them or destroy their career or try and take them out and kill them, right? That's on that side, and you can have conversation on this side. But at the end of the day, they still believe in their liberal left ideas, and that's the fight you see on the right. It's not conservatives versus because conservatives' biggest problem has always been conservatives and Republicans would always scrap with each other, right? Because the Republicans are more political, conservatives are more principle. And there's Republicans with principle stuff like that, but that's where the fight was, right? And now you're seeing on the other side of the aisle because everything is always ultra focused on the right, but because all this stuff is falling apart right now, right? The sky is falling right now. That everybody has to, they're asking themselves why is this happening? Why isn't healthcare for everybody working? Like, what is the real problem? Because what ends up happening, the consequences kick in, and what they thought was the reality is the lie, and then they have to deal with it, and then they do soul searching. They're basically having their coming to Jesus moment. You can go on YouTube, see a bunch of people on the left. I'm a Republican now. I'm on the right. We'll see. But look, dude, you just don't change just like that, man. If you're, because some of these guys, they talk about it like they were hardcore. You can, don't get me wrong, but maybe you just want to be center or center right, and that's fine, right? But that's where the fallout from the right that the media talks about, because a lot of these guys are like the President Trump was a liberal his entire life, and he became a Republican only to run against because the Democrats didn't want him because he was speaking the wrong speak, right? So then he joined the Republican Party because he couldn't run as a Democrat. He couldn't get elected as a Democrat. Then he became a Republican. That's why he pisses Republicans off, right? Right? And he drops like, oh yeah, we need $200 billion to fight this war, right? Most conservatives and Republicans don't like that, right? But he's broken the mold, dude. He's a different beast. And look, like I say all the time on my videos, dude, he's the president because that's the president we deserve, right? Because we've allowed things to get this bad, and I'll take responsibility from it. That's from my generation as well. Like Gen X, we're pretty tough. I don't even like saying Gen X. But we're pretty tough, dude. But at the end of the day, did that rock the vote, all that crap? That's why we have political disable, man. Because a lot of people bought into that stuff. There's just some people that don't need to vote. You have the right to vote. I don't say that you don't, man. If you want to vote, go ahead and vote. But a lot of you guys need to take a civics class, just being honest, and realize how our government does work. I'd be arguing with people all the time about that. Oh, why don't they do this? It's like, man, there's a process in place. Nobody's doing the process. It's broken. That's how you end up somebody with the president that we have now. Right? This dude also like. It started off with Bush with executive orders. Obama took it to the next level. Then President Trump came in and he just reversed and he took it to the whole other level. Then Biden came in and broke the pen, right? He was signing everything, and it wasn't even him. He went other dimensional. It wasn't even him signing that crap. And then the new president comes in and he signs all these executive orders and just reverses it. That's not how the system's supposed to work. This is why you have Congress and stuff like that. But Congress is hopeless too. All those people should be in jail, if I'm being honest. Toolman, 55. What's up, brother? Just doing a little rant. I mean, right now the video's a rant, but that's not what it is. I'm doing this video as inspired by Segaman. Because I'm like Segaman, dude. I wish it wasn't like this, dude. I wish we could just play our games. Because back in the day when we talked about stuff, like when I was in a group of people that liked comic books, we just talked about comic books. That's all we talked about. The arguments we would have was just about comic books. We didn't know what the other person, how they lived, right? Like I didn't like rich, poor. It didn't matter, dude. That's why, like you knew somebody who was probably rich, like or had money, or parents loved them, right? Because they had like Soundwave, Most people had like the Transformer. Most people had was like Optimus, and that was a big buy, right? Or you had some mini Transformers, the mini bots. Like that's why Bumblebee's so popular because that's probably the only thing that your parents could afford, and he was a popular character, right? Then you had that one person that had like Soundwave, Perceptor, Omega Supreme. Like he'd be like, "Hey man, I'm gonna bring him. I'm gonna bring my GI Joe." Aircraft carrier, right? You had that one friend that could like have everything, but you didn't think about it in those terms, man. You just thought that was cool, and you wish you were him. Sometimes you'd be like, "Oh yeah, can we play?" And that's what you do. That's what it was all about. Right? It was just a different generation. Now you turn on the game, dude, and it's it's all about trans and sex stuff and freaking homosexuality and all this crap, right? Meanwhile, where's the game in this? That's what they're running against, right? Like there was a good article coming out now. There's good articles coming out now because the media again has to deal with this wokeness that's been going on for years. Now the only thing I didn't like about the woke stuff on my side of the aisle, right, is that when I listened to people, man, it became just like a punching bag and a talking point. I would like us to be a little bit deeper. And for me, the ultimate goal is to get rid of it so that we don't have to talk about it. Like don't forget it, right? Like you hear people bringing up Gamergate, which is important. Right, but I don't want to live in it, right? I want a course correction, right? Because at the end of the day, right, and this is what I found out with people on my side, because they're more about the politics than they are about the culture, right? Like if you like playing video games, right? You want them to get this crap out of there so we can get back to playing video games. Where a lot of people are just doing it and commenting on it, and they continue to comment on it. You know, like with some of the stuff. Yeah, okay, that happened like 3 or 4 years ago. Where are we now? Kind of stuff. That's why because dude, at the end of the day, I live in this stuff. A lot of this is what I figured out, man. These influencers, a lot of them don't. It's something that they do, something they can talk about. It's just content for their channel. They might dabble in it a little bit, but again, like I say on my channel all the time, you know that you guys know how I am. Dude, I'm about gaming. I'm an old school gamer. So if you're telling me you're a gamer, there's certain things I expect to see from you. You know what I'm saying? Not that I hold that against you, but you know, you tell me that kind of stuff. Like if you say you're a Christian, right? Probably should read your Bible. Probably know the history. Like everything that's going on right now, the confusion with everything that's going on in the Middle East, man. Because a lot of people, especially, and I'm talking about Christians specifically, dude, they don't read their Bible, or they get their information from somebody who does read the Bible but is interpreting it. But it's their interpretation of what the Bible says. That's why you have to do the research yourself in anything you do, right? In anything you do for your job, dude. If you're gonna get into gaming, man, like I see with my kid right now, trying to get into the industry, trying to understand the industry. They did this deep dive into the history of gaming, and it was amazing to me because it was pretty good, but they missed a lot of stuff, so I just filled in the gaps for it. Because again, guys like me, he bought Segaman, we lived there, we lived in that moment, so I can talk to her explicitly about what was going on. And it's interesting because she's kind of like, oh wow, that's interesting. Like, yeah, that's why. And then you can move it, you can fast forward to 2026, and then she can see why things are the way they are right now, right? Like how people talk about exclusives, and I explained to her, well, exclusives, you know, they were exclusive to a particular console. Even if it affected the controller you use, it affected your brand, the console brand, all of that stuff. It didn't matter. This stuff was you could only get it with this console, right? This now we're in 2026, not so much, right? But you see what's happening, right? Everything's beginning to reverse. That's why you gotta be fluid, man. That's why I tell people all the time, you gotta be fluid. Yeah, fundamental stuff, foundational stuff, but when things shift, dude, you gotta be able to shift with it, right? But as long as you keep, when I say foundational principle stuff, dude, that's your foundation, that's your anchor, right? But when the waves are coming in, man, you gotta be able to, to dodge and move. That's just the reality of it. So I think all this stuff is changing, right? Businesses are beginning to waking up because they're losing money. Dude, they had the. Let me see if I can find that, dude. I had it. Let me bring up my X account because it was actually a pretty big that I saw. 1 second, guys. I think I share. I'll share it on my profile from my profile. I think I have it. Oh yeah, for you guys asking me, yeah, I didn't get re-verified just because I got tired of like I didn't realize how political that would be. For people um for X, man. A lot of people like because you're verified. It was this whole thing. That and then I got a bunch of people messaging me and stuff like that. That was getting irritating. I might do it later on. I don't know. I hope Elon can fix that stuff. But that's something that they got to work on. Let me share this to you guys. Man. I thought this was really cool. Oh, hold on 1 second, guys. Dude, I tell you what, man, this has been crazy for me. Can you guys see? All right, I'm just gonna play the soundbite for you, man. Forgive the horrible production value.
Given what's happening in the middle, I was also asked, given what's happening in the Middle East, is that an area where we believe that we can expand artificial intelligence to? Um, I believe that there's a reason we went to war, and I believe at the end of the war, Middle East will be more stable than before. And so, if we were there, if we're considering it before, we should absolutely be considering it after. And so, I'm 100% in on that. I was also asked, given what's happening in the Middle East.
All right, so that's just one. That's a soundbite clip. Actually, there's a longer clip, but that's the one that I put retweeted on my stuff. Right. So this is, and you guys know who this is, man. And then in the gaming space, we're talking about AI slap and all this crap in video, all this stuff that they're talking about, right? But see, this is what I'm talking about. This is a perfect example. But this dude, it should be talking about his space and what we're doing. We got like especially on the Xbox side, where we had the announcement of the new console. Right, these guys have been talking about this, what they're going to be bringing to the table and stuff like that. So he's in these spaces, man, and he gets asked about the Middle East. And so what ends up happening, though, right, is everybody that asks you that expects you to answer a certain way, because the majority of the media is on the left, man. I say 95% of these people are liberal, right? And then this dude, right, he comes in and he just basically blurts this out there. So I mean, I think this dude's too rich and powerful to be canceled. But you know what I'm saying, right? Like, why is this even a question? Why does this clip even exist, right?
Is
Why?
that an area where we
Why?
believe that we can expand artificial intelligence to? Um, I believe that there's a reason we went to war, and I believe at the end of the war, Middle East will be more stable than before. And so, if we were
Now, in fairness, this one, all in cast, these guys are politically charged. I will say that, and they tend to be more center right. They're all on the left, dude. All these people, all these tech people. Do you see all these people getting fired? I'm telling you, the people getting fired from tech, dude, are the people that was making those videos. This is my day at Google, right? Because at the end of the day, the businesses started losing money. That money's not coming in. This is the reason why the president got rid of USAID, because a lot of these people are getting money from USAID. Now nobody talks about that. Because you notice how many of these people are in trouble now that USAID is gone? That's why the president did that. That's why the president washed out Washington. Washington was a hub of liberal activism, and these guys are supposed to be government workers. And look, dude, some people, you throw a net, dude, you catch a turtle with all the tuna you're trying to catch, dude. That happens, and I feel sorry for those people, but dude, just the slow degradation of this country, man. Something needed to be done. So this guy's on All In Podcast, dude. They're not. There's I would say they're center right or left center left, right? Because all these dudes, all these tech people are all on board for all this crap, and this is why your tech suffered, and this is why these guys they have to recalibrate, man. Because they drank the Kool Aid too, man. They thought, okay, for some of them don't care about. Well, also, there's quite a few of them don't care about the. Some of them are liberals, man, but some of them were just trying to read the tea leaves and thought this was where everything was going to go. Everything was going to shift left, so they have to be there. And man, they were wrong, and their portfolios suffered because of it. This is what I'm talking about, dude. You can't let your politics ruin it. Dude, the hate that I see, man, just because they hate this president, dude. Right? And then when these guys start having moments of clarity and start saying stuff like this, dude, these guys get canceled. Like I said, this dude has a lot of money. Plus he's the CEO of NVIDIA, so I like to see people try. They probably will, but it won't go anywhere. This dude makes a product that runs the world, basically. Right? You have to be that type of rich, that type of famous. You know what I thought? You know what I heard that Bill Gates still gets like 70%. I think he's like no, what is he 40%? He still has a stake in Microsoft. I thought he got rid of all his stocks. Man, Microsoft needs to cut ties with that dude. That dude is psycho. Respect for what he did back in the day, man. But this dude is trying to save the world, and he's gonna save it whether you like it or not. Let me see. Hold on, guys. I'm looking at some other stuff. Like right here. Can you guys see this? Right here. See, this is one of the articles from the Express. Oscars was so desperate to not be woke, it ended up being more woke than ever. And see, this isn't even an admission of how bad woke is. What the article basically saying, right, is that they were trying not to be woke, and because they were trying not to be woke, they had moments in there that was woke that really stood out, like Jimmy Kimmel, for example, right? And this is why we can't have nice things, right? Because with everything that's going on, all this the house is burning, man. There's flames all around us, dude, and these people still don't learn. That's Hollywood, dude. And it's Hollywood, dude. They're on their own bubble and stuff like that, dude. These guys are losing money hand over fist. Studios are closing, bro. Netflix tried to buy Warner Brothers. I'm glad that didn't go. Right? All of this stuff is going on, man. They see it happening, man, and they just can't help themselves, dude. That's how privileged these people are. I don't like using that word lightly, dude, but in this case, that's what it is. These people are privileged. They don't live in the real world like most people, and they think they understand politics, and they think they understand consequences, and they think they understand what people want, what entertainment is, and it's not. Right? They're all agenda driven, right? They can't help themselves. Even when it's all going to pot, dude. Hollywood is on the brink, man. There's other stuff to watch, man. You don't have to watch stuff out of Hollywood. right? And it makes it so that when there's just a show that comes out that's just good, people say it's the greatest show ever, right? Like I'll watch certain shows that people tell me this is the best show ever, so my expectations are high. I've learned to kind of curb that because when I watch it, I'm like, oh yeah, it's a good show. It's not the greatest show ever, but it's a good show. And the reason why you're saying it's the greatest show ever is because you're getting all this other trash that's been coming out for the last 10 years. Right? So it's not so much that the show's good, it's just that everything else is bad. And that's not where you need to be, man. That's why Hollywood's going to go out of business. I don't care. I got to experience Predator. I got to experience Ghostbusters. I got to experience a lot of things in my life that were first, and a lot of people wax poetic about it nowadays, especially in the newer generation. I got to live. I got to live. I got to live it. I got to experience it. So I'm good, dude. I've had my time. So we'll skin off my nose. But again, man, I just want to wrap this up real quick. Shout out to Segaman, dude. And I'm gonna do another video. I'll try and do it today, a little bit later, because I do want to talk about some Xbox stuff. See if he about that can jump in. Um, but at the end of the day, this is why. This is why you can't have nice things anymore, right? Because politics infiltrated everything, right? Like some of your favorite characters, they just turn them gay just because of agenda. They turn them gay, no story, right? And I'm not saying agree with the lifestyle. Actually, I'm anti against that lifestyle, right? And a lot of it's for biblical reasons too. And that's not how we're made. And so, but then again, I share that opinion. I get canceled. So which I don't care because number one, I'm not a big channel, but number two, I don't care. Or number one, actually, I don't care. But at the end of the day, that's what we got to get back to, man. Telling good stories, man. And until they get all this crap out, until we can get people that want to be in politics back to just being in politics, right? And again, it won't be good for them because it doesn't work, and that's why they come to these spaces, right? Because another thing too, man, because as I was growing up, because you were ostracized, dude, people that were like comic books, for example, comic books meant something to you, and the people you're around because it was all about the comic books, and it was all about the camaraderie that you have with these people because they were ostracized. Most people were ostracized when I was growing up. This is not what it wasn't a popular thing like it is now, right? So that would form that glue that everybody had, right? Like Segaman said on his stuff, dude. He doesn't care what my politics is or other guys in our group politics is, any of that stuff, dude. We're all Xbox. And I respect the Segaman, dude. Not a lot of people can do that. A lot of people can't separate it, right? Like I see it for what it is too, but I do what I do, man. If you want to rock out with me, fine. If you don't. They don't, right? I'm 100% behind that, Sega Man. But I just wanted to do this video, again, inspired by Sega Man, to talk about why things are the way they are, man. And that's the only way, again, like I talk about with Xbox, dude, the only way we're going to push past this moment in time that we are with the console, that Xbox as a business, as a brand, is they need to get medieval on these people. They really do, right? It's the same thing with politics and pop culture, man. We need to just get it out of there. Again, it can inspire you to write something. You can write some what if film about, like a what if kind of situation. That's fine, dude. But at the end of the day, make sure your casting's down. Make sure that your story is on point, production values there, budgets all in check. They gotta get back to the old Hollywood when Hollywood is hungry. Because there is a Hollywood out there, dude, but it's in China. There's a gaming industry out there, but it's in China. There's a anime out there. There's animation out there, but it's in Japan. There's comic books out there, but it's called manga now. It's in Japan, right? There's dramas out there that everybody watches, but it's all in Korea now. Probably the best thing about the Golden Globes that I saw was that K-pop Demon Hunters won, and it won exponentially, right? I mean, it dominated everything. And when people ask me why I like that movie, right? And I've seen people do interesting videos on it, especially people that are Christian content creators, talking about how K-pop Demon Hunters is a Christian movie. Look, at the end of the day, it's more about the good and evil narrative that I love about that. Animation, right? There's a quaint little love story. You have the girl power moments, man, but it's more about the girl power as a friendship and raising each other up and being together like a family. Not this girl power that's basically they're just taking women and making them into men, right? Because that's what they see men as in certain roles. but they want the women to have the spotlight, so they make the women like men, which defeats the purpose, right? That's so stupid. That's why they're failing. Because there's uniqueness. There's a uniqueness to a woman, right? And there's also a strength to a woman. And a lot of these people can't write it that way, because a lot of them, because of their politics and their feminism and the way they feel about that, the power they're warped. The power narrative, the way they look at men and women as far as power narrative is all askew, and it shows in their writing, and that's why their stuff is crap. Because it doesn't make sense, dude, and that's what they're focusing on. They're not actually focusing on the story. They're not giving it to the audience. They're not entertaining. Right? They just want to say what they say. And if you want to do that, do fan fiction. Go on Reddit. Or do something like that, dude. Don't get a studio to back you for $300 million, and then you guys are all scratching your head why you didn't make any money, why you lost money, and why your studio is broke now and you guys are going out of business. That's what it all boils down to. It's not complicated, dude. This is not rocket science. Just go watch some K dramas, man. I know some people have a hard time with the cultural barriers, right? Which is ironic to me because we're supposed to be diverse. But if you look at if anything, go watch K-pop Demon Hunters. Right? It encapsulates what the writer wanted to come across. And she talked about her struggles. Right? And I'm fine with that because I'm like, okay, that's your story. Right? You're not shoving it down my throat. You might say it in an award show. I don't have to watch the award show. But that's her experience. I have no problem with it. Right? Just tell your story. I appreciate what you put out. You had a great movie. It basically is just the battle of good and evil, with the little shades of gray in there. But at the end of the day, dude, these people are bad, right? Like a lot of people is like, oh, they're just they sympathize with the stuff. The person, it wasn't sympathizing with the evil. It was the person was human and he made a mistake, right? And it was trying to find redemption, which is a very Christian thing, right? That's why I don't think it's a Christian movie personally. Me, right? I never was like that. There was like Christian rock, never got this. Dude, it's either just listen to rock and metal, right? You can't. And I know they look, dude. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. We live in different times, but that's just not me. Maybe I'm just too old. Whatever, right? Again, that's the boxes I talk about. That's how I enjoy these kind of things, right? But at the end of the day, dude, it's just a good story, good versus evil, and the good guys win. And it's a story that's been told a bazillion times, but what they did was they took the veneer of K-pop and they wrapped it up in a good old fashioned, just a good versus evil story that everybody can identify with. So they did a lot of cool stuff in that movie that nobody saw before because it was fresh and new in that sense. But at the end of the day, the base is the same. A lot of Korean dramas are like that. Right? Love stories, family soap opera stuff. They've even expanded. They've got so popular that they've expanded into other genres. Like Minesweepers, it's on Netflix, man. Go watch that. It's like their version of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Not the Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's like this quirky space opera thing. That's really cool. Right? I just watched this other one called Yaksha. The only thing that got me off on Yaksha was that the bad guys were Japan. And it wasn't that the bad guys were Japan. If you guys know, there's a history between all the Japan, China, Korea, all this kind of stuff. Right? But again, like what the president said at the Oval Office, and the prime minister was there, Japan, and then they're asking people how they feel, and then they're asking Japanese people, and some of the Japanese people, man, they're talking about Pearl Harbor, and I'm just gonna say, dude, misinformed, right? They're trying to make excuses. I'm like, no, dude, you guys did it, which is fine, dude, but that's in the past, right? In a way, but you have to keep the history alive so that you don't do it again, right? There's no sense in lying to yourself, like our history. Like Americans are like that way to a fault. Britons are totally like that to a fault. I think it's actually harming them. Because it's recognizing the wrong, but it's not. You can't correct it a lot of times because you can't go back in time. And then we're living in the modern time, and the results of what was wrong is now. So you got to deal with it now, in my opinion. So, but yeah, dude, it was funny to me to see that, and that's what it was with K-pop Demon Hunters, dude. It was just a great a show. But sorry. So get back to Yakuza. So Yakuza, the main people of Japan, and Japan had this intelligence network that had created all these modes all throughout Asia, right? And that's who they're fighting against. Now, the cool thing about it is the actor they picked to play the Japanese, the main bad guy. He was really cool. He's a great actor, so it was good to see him. But I was just, and what I'm saying is, it's when you do that and it just doesn't resonate. It's not reality, right? And you know that there's a bone to pick that these countries have with each other. That's where it falls hollow for me. That's the only problem I have. Everything else was solid. In typical like high production quality, great casting. The action out, because they take that stuff seriously, right? Because they're trying, right? They have to, right? And not in America, man. We're all lazy with our production and stuff here, right? And so, and here in America, we have money. We just throw money at stuff, right? That's why we're in the trouble right now. But in South Korea, dude, everything matters. So, but that's the only thing about the movie I was watching. I was like, bro, man, China can't even mobilize their self defense forces. It's been like that for years. Japan has this. I'm not China, but Japan. Japan has a constitution that they're not allowed to do that, which we put on them after they surrendered to the United States. And so what ended up happening now is the United States actually pushing them to be more active. That's where this whole question came up. Like, is Japan going to be in Iraq with us, supporting us because they're our allies now? You have a prime minister that's more right-leaning, that's a lot more pro-Japan military forces. And for me, it's not like having them there, right? I think it'd be good for Japan to do something there, just because they need the experience. Because their big problem right now is China and what's happening with Taiwan. So, I mean, they have the technology. They have a lot of the stuff that we have, dude. They're experts and they're good, man. But at the end of the day, just like Mike Tyson says, dude, you can you can have all the plans in the world, man, until you punch in the face or punch in the mouth, dude. And that's 100% true. You can have all the technology, you can have everything, right? And then when the crap goes down, that's when you see what happens, what you made of. And that's why our military is the way that it is. So, yeah, but yeah, man, go out there, dude. You don't have to. You don't like I told you guys this for years, man. You guys don't have to listen to Hollywood. You guys don't have to take their crap, dude. Like us with Xbox, man. We don't like certain things, dude. And what you can do with anything, dude. Just vote with your dollar. That's why all these companies are changing, right? When they start losing money, dude, that's when the rubber meets the road for these guys. You don't need to put flags or protest. If you want to, that's fine. I'm not saying you don't have to. Right? If you really want to do some change, hit them where it hurts in their pocketbook. And that's with politicians. That's across the board, dude. Stand by your morals. Stand by your principles, dude. Just do it for that. And if enough people do it, then that's what happened, dude. I don't think boycotts like because a lot of boycotts are emotionally charged. You want something. It's just when people like when I said right the problem that Xbox has and why I said this in my last video why they need to course correct because they don't want apathy to set in for the Xbox gamer, for the true Xbox gamer. They don't want apathy where people just don't care. Because when that sets in, dude, that's when they're really done. That's when you're done. Disney found out, Marvel found out the hard way. They thought they were untouchable, do whatever they wanted to do, push their agenda, even though the fans weren't down with it, even though the numbers weren't supporting it. Right? They just kept on going. That's why, in the case of Disney, they need to fire everybody, get rid of everybody, because it's ingrained in them so deep, dude, that they can't change. And now, like in that article I showed you guys. They talked to the head of Pixar and now he's like, oh yeah, we're gonna, this isn't for people's, like they know the error of their ways. I would still fire all of those guys. Because what does that mean, dude? Are you truly gonna change? Look, dude, if you have an alcohol problem, a drinking problem, dude, best not to keep alcohol in your house. You know what I'm saying? Get rid of it, right? So anyway, let me wrap it up, guys. It's been an hour. I didn't want to go that long because I want to try and do an Xbox One later. And if you guys pop up, hope you can join me. Thank you too, man. Thanks for being here, man. Rachie, definitely thank you for the comments, bro. I appreciate you coming in here. Yeah, and, I might say some stuff you don't like and stuff, but I do appreciate you being here, brother. And for the ones that still rock out with me, man, I really appreciate you guys. Shout out to Segaman. Go check out his channel. Check out his videos. Dude, true gamer, right? And that's the sad thing about it, right? They should have these guys should be having millions of views, man, because they actually showed that they're gamers. And on the pop culture side, like Hebot's a big collector as well, right? But people just want the drama, and that's another problem. But that's a video for another. All right, guys, Xbox All In channel, Sega Forever, we out.